evening. Once again, we return to the story of Caius, Spellsword, Dunmer, Eternal Champion, former agent of the Emperor, current apprentice in the Blades. We are now friend of the Urshelagu, and we're about to report to Caius, the other Caius. In terms of our progress in finding our next job. Seems like I wanted to keep a few of these, actually.
Are you here to discuss your orders, Caius, or is there something else that you want? You've spoken with Sulmatul and Ibani Masaya, and from what they say, it sounds like you really could be the Nerevarine. That's incredible. But I'll have to get used to the idea. Let me try to get word to Mera Milo. Maybe she can find out whether the dissident priests have any lost prophecies. In the meantime, I have a very tough assignment for you. Do you think you're ready?
I'm willing, but cautious.
Good. Cautious is smart. I'm going to give you the mission, but I'm going to give you 400 drakes. Before you head out, make sure you outfit yourself with healing potions, new gear, a little training, whatever you think you need most. And if you get into trouble, back off, rest up, and go back fresh. Don't take any chances. I think this will be a tough one. Here's your mission. Fort Buckmoth sent a patrol to Narmak, hunting smugglers with Sixth House connections. They found a Sixth House base, a Sixth House shrine, and a Sixth House priest named Dagoth Garrus. Speak to Champion Risela Pulia at Fort Buckmoth. She'll tell you about the patrol and the Sixth House base. Your orders: find that Sixth House base, kill Dagoth Garrus, and bring me a full report on the Sixth House base.
Tell me more about the base.
Champion Risela Pulia at Fort Buckmoth says that a patrol found a Sixth House base in a cave that the locals call Ilunibi. However, the one trooper who escaped to report has died of Cropus disease. Before he died, the trooper reported fighting with monsters and cultists, and something about a powerful Sixth House priest called Dagoth Garrus. But go talk to Risea Pulia at Fort Buckmoth, and she'll have all the details.
And Fort Buckmoth is?
Fort Buckmoth is the Imperial Legion's garrison for the Redoran district. The fort lies south of Alderun, a short walk from Alderun's south gate.
What about the lost prophecies?
Mera Milo says that dissident priests do have records of Ashlander Nerevarine prophecies, and she has an idea of how we might get a look at them.
Very well. Now I took a few items here. The reason for that is I want to make a quick trip to the Ghost Gate, and I believe the only other item that I need is a shield. The boots are better than glass boots.
May I help you?
Under sun and sky. Greetings, our head Outlander. What do you need? Is there something you need?
There might also be something as far as glass weapons are concerned, but really as far as my armor goes, I'm just looking to see if I can find that glass tower shield. And when we go to Alderun, I'll probably take this Salt Strider, and this is just so that I can get my magicka back. But for now, I'll see if I can sell off a few of the items I'm carrying. And of course, we'll admire the scenery for a bit. did try recording this earlier, and I did a fix to or an attempted fix to the Storm Astronaut crash. Unfortunately, it looks like it doesn't fix the problem. And the last time I did it, it actually resulted in a crash to desktop. So we'll see whether or not this one works. I'm going to save often, and in the worst case scenario, I'll just undo the change that I made. I've got the collywobbles. It's having a couple of moments of doubt as to whether or not that's on the right path, but I think I might have been traveling. I think I might have been traveling at night. You know what? I'm gonna hang on to this for a bit. Nobody's gonna talk to me until I'm at my destination anyway. I can cure it then. Be a terrible time for some bow training, but sort of know that I'm gonna have to restore Magica with a potion if I want to cure this disease anyway. Everything came at once. Alright, we're close to the Ghost Gate. Sneaky. I mean, I can try this. So we know it's not a common disease. I seem to remember, I think it was a basement. There we are. Well, it's a shield. It's 28. Well, I mean, it's better than nothing, I guess.
Can we hurry this up?
I'm gonna try something a little silly, but I do remember the last time I did this. So the trick here is I don't want to be giving up too much in terms of money. Oh, I should have put on my bargaining shoes, then I wouldn't have needed to sell the potion. Yeah, they're just gonna buy weapons and armor. Hang on. Yeah, they don't have nearly enough to... Again, I can't believe I got away with that. I probably should have, probably should have gone for less, but I do remember the last time that I reloaded, we wound up with a totally different... Well... There is one thing I can try.
Tell me what you want.
Is that really all? Okay. So now I just try to reduce it down to 5,000. That's more like it. That is technically a worse deal than I got last time, but...
Impressive. These clothes suit you well.
Now I would have done a recall, except that I think I've used up all the mana for that. Magicka for that. Before I go, I should probably see if I can find someone to buy that calcinator. Well, I can sell them in gradients if it comes down to it.
Please,
Go
Many
ahead.
blessings to you, Outlanders. This is a pleasure. Please, go ahead, Outlander. I'm listening. Walk with virtue, Outlander.
I am never too busy for a good talk.
I don't think I saw that little stand up there. Let's take a look.
May
Yes,
you find me
Outlander.
worthy of
How do
your
you do?
attention.
I don't believe I've seen such a dark elf in such a grand outfit in some time. Can I help you?
Who are you?
I am Zalit Astetdadish, Scout.
Very well. And you?
I'm Tunapi Shamir Basur, Wise Woman and Initiate of the Ashlanders.
Good talk. So once we get back to Belmora, we'll hop a Silt Strider to Aldaroon, and we will continue down the main quest. I'm sort of hoping we wind up back in 5-Ek at some point, so that I can deal with the unfinished business. I feel I'm alright as long as I don't bring all these things to Belmora with me. Only I could find an alchemist who trains an axe skill, and I'd be on top of things. I hope the final encounter is finding the nest where all these things spawn from. Alright, now I always get caught on this, so I gotta read the signs. I'm pretty sure Balmora's over that way, but... yes. Taking a Silt Strider. Try and get a few extra points for certain potions. Because if we're heading for a 6th house space, I want as much space as possible. Oh, I should have sold that back in the Ghost Gate. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to sell that. Really? I know this is very quiet. I'm just, again, trying to make a few coins before I head out. I don't think they'll buy potions, but...
Welcome, friend.
Oh, greetings. How do you do?
Our sugar is yours, friend.
All right.
Well, I find myself in pleasant company. Welcome. If you wish to talk, it is really no trouble at all.
So we'll see if I can find some things to drop off. And
May you find all
I feel as though I've been awakened from a dream. A terrible dream of the 6th house.
so you keep reminding me.
What do you think of Almo?
It's wet.
Yes, Captain. What do you...
Greetings,
All
student.
right.
A pleasure to meet you.
First things first. Try and get rid of these tongs. Hooray. I've been trying to get rid of these things forever. I don't really need 2 hammers. Alright, now it's not an efficient system. In this case, I'm just dumping the extras on the ground here. Lost my nerve. days into potions, but like I said, I'm trying to travel a little bit lighter while still being able to drop off everything I've got, so we don't have that much space. Oh, because I haven't dropped everything off yet. That's still not a lot. And it's pretty much all potions and scrolls at this point. But we should be able to find some buyers. So normally I would be sleeping right now, but I can sleep in the...
May I help?
I can sleep in the Salt Strider.
Is there something I can do for you?
Good day, Outlander. I am Belmora's Caravaneer. Tell me your destination and I'll tell you if I can help you out.
Aldrin, please. Alright, now before we go looking for my contact, let's try and
Do you
free up a
need
little more space. This is always a tricky one because I'm never able to make the
Greetings.
transaction work properly.
How about sharing the wealth? I've lots to show you.
So, for instance, 25.50. I bet I can get a little more.
You're in good company, friend. Welcome.
Share your thoughts, friend. I enjoy the company.
Yeah, I might be able to pull this off. Alright, well, that was easier than I thought.
Way too many questions.
Well, I find myself in pleasant company. Please share your thoughts.
Yeah, I think I'll just leave it be.
Where is that snake? How about sharing the wealth? Go ahead. I'm listening.
Just trying to think if there's any other places I might want to try and sell some of these potions. Yeah, I'll try and make the most of what I've got. In terms of weight, I feel like we should be able to do better than just have a spare spare room of 100.
Is there something I can do for you?
Welcome, Caius. Welcome to the humble shop of Tiras Sadus, trader and purveyor of quality general merchandise. Shall I tell you about my trade, or would you perhaps be interested in doing a little work for me?
We've already done the work, thanks. Bit extreme. Alright, again, just a little extra pocket change to help lighten the load. One experiment I could do, of course, is just look at all of the things that I don't need and figure out exactly what the weight is, but that takes a long time to pick up again. Sorry, the world's happening outside. I shouldn't be looking at my notifications. Looks like I never actually found the entrance to this place. Let's see what the main map says. That's not too clear either. Or it's possible the entrance is obscured from the top-down view. Excellent. So I have been in here. I just didn't think that that was the proper entrance. Sega, please.
I don't think we've been introduced, Outlander. I am Seganivus Mentidius. How can I help you?
suppose you're looking to buy potions, are you? No.
I don't think we've been introduced, Outlander. I am Kostian Conspus. How can I help you?
Now you and I can do some business. Or maybe not. Alright, well, there's a few practical things I can pick up. Replace the medicine for poison as one does.
I have the finest spells in town.
All right, I'm listening.
Well, there's definitely a lot of stuff we can buy. Let's take a minute here. There's no point in hoarding this, obviously. It's nice to get some extra spells, so Bug Musk actually takes up quite a bit of space. Actually, there, made it easy. Well, hang on, let's just be careful here. I want to make sure I'm not giving up,
What was that?
Well, here's a fine one. Speak freely.
pleasure to meet you. Could you maybe, you know.
Always happy to chat with people I like, and I like you.
Yeah, well, I do have a potion that's expiring, so if you could please just... Why?
Welcome, friend. Hail.
Freedom.
Speak freely, friend.
Listening.
I don't believe I've seen a dark outfit in such a grand outfit in some time. Can I help you?
This seems like a really good opportunity right here. Aha.
All right, I'm listening.
All right, I'm listening.
I have
Citizen.
the finest spells in town.
How can I help you?
Did we talk already? Yes, we did.
How can I help you? Go ahead. Do you want something?
I don't think we've been introduced. I am Alcar. How can I help you?
Gotta get back on track. So, Zapulia. Now, if she's a champion, I would have expected. Oh,
What's this
there we
about?
go.
I'm Risa Pulia, champion of the Legion garrison here at Buckmoth Legion Fort. And you're Caius. Caius Gaussade sent you, didn't he? Caius says that you're the one to handle the 6th house base near Narmak.
I am the same.
Only one trooper returned. He died soon after, horribly disfigured with corpus disease. Corpus disease. And out of his wits. In his ravings, he spoke of a cavern on the coast. He called it Ilinibi. It's not on our maps. Try asking locals in Narmak. They fought with cultists and disfigured man-beasts. Corpus monsters, I think. They fled the attackers and got lost in the caves. Then they ran into a half-man creature named Dagoth Garys. This Dagoth Garys slew the rest of the patrol, but spared the one trooper. He told the trooper he was being spared so that he might tell others that the sleeper awakens and that the 6th house is risen, and Dagoth is lord, and I am his priest, and all will be one with him in the flesh. The trooper awakened outside the caves and returned here. We couldn't recognize him, and he didn't respond to questions. He just kept rambling on like a madman until he died.
Tell me more about the disease.
I've heard of Cropper's disease before, but never seen it. The trooper's flesh was swollen and covered with growths. His bones twisted and lost their shape. He spoke to himself as if in a dream. We didn't recognize him at first, except for his clothing and armor. The fort chaplain tried spells and potions, but couldn't cure the disease. He died soon after he reached the fort. Didn't realize how fast Cropper's kills. It sure wasn't pretty. The troops seemed shaken. I'm a little worried myself, to tell the truth.
What about the base?
Only one trooper returned. He died soon after, horribly disfigured with, corpus disease, and out of his wits. In his ravings, he spoke of a cavern on the coast. He called it,
No, okay, I've already done that. What about Narmak?
Narmak is an island fishing village on the Bitter Coast, roughly west of Caldera and Aldaroon. Here, let me mark it on your map. There's no marked route to Narmok from Alderaan. It's no easy trip. Our patrols take the Balmora Road. The Nisus Balmora Alderaan signpost goes south, and then immediately west on a side road to Drulaine Phelan's cottage. Then head cross-country west to the coast with the old Dunmer stronghold at Andraseth as a landmark. When you hit the coast, turn south. Follow the coast, wading around the headlands when necessary. Pass a shipwreck, and when the coast levels out and turns from barren rock to green swamp, you're in the Bitter Coast region. Keep south with the water on your left until you see Narmok, an island just off the coast. There's a crude plank bridge and some rough rocks on the island itself. It's a rough place, popular with adventurers, smugglers, and outlaws. But maybe someone in Narmok can tell you how to find the Ilanibi Sea Caverns.
And anything about Ilanibi itself.
It's where the dead trooper called the Sea Caverns, where he found the 6th House base. It's not on our maps. No one has ever heard of it. Maybe the locals in Narmok can tell you where to find it, or you may have to search for it yourself.
Well, we've definitely been to Narmok before.
Ah, well.
But I'm going to try and follow their directions. So we start by heading to Balmora. I feel like this isn't really the Balmora Road. Maybe at this point I just try going straight west and see what happens. This is really just a chance for me to fill in some gaps on my map. Takes to fill in that map. just really want to deal with this part of my map. Come on. Alright. I notice there's a little stutter each time I get a new fragment of the map. So I'm not sure this is a path I would exactly want to repeat to get to Narmok, but it seems to be doing the trick. Sorry, I just need to respond to something in a minute.
Sorry, actually, I'll just cut in for a second here. There's a couple of things that I need to respond to at work here that somebody just gave me a message for. And I need to deal with it really quick. I'm actually going to step away from the keyboard for a minute. It'll probably be just a couple minutes. Okay. I am very, very sorry about that wait. I had not exactly an emergency, but something I needed to deal with. This is while I've broken the flow. This is also pre-recorded, but it's hard to get these things stitched together when it broadcasts. So,
back to the story. Oh, actually, sorry, there's one more thing I want to check. Alright, sorry about that. I don't exactly know why I need the rat meat, but there you have it. And of course, this is looking very familiar. Something's coming after me.
I'm an officer of the Imperial Law. Move along.
Well, do you know anything about Ilanibi?
Ilanibi Caverns. That's what they call the old sea cave up on the north end of the island, right on Kartag Point. Don't be poking your nose in there. Someone might object.
What's Kartag Point?
Yeah, it's on the western coast, not far from here. It's a gigantic boulder. Some of the orcs consider it a landmark. Why, I don't know. Some orc or another jumped off on a dare. It didn't end well.
Wait a minute, I might have already been there. See if I can find a place for my potions. I keep forgetting there's not a lot to do here. Alright, let's head to Kartag Point instead. Easy fella. exactly where I was supposed to be, but said someone jumped down. I was curious if I'd see the body. Yeah, so it looks like I might have already been in here. I definitely remember traveling to a similar location at some point. Well then.
What are you doing? You have no idea. Poor animal, you struggle and fight and understand nothing. You think what you do has meaning? You think you slay me and I am dead? Is just a dream and waking over and over, one apprentice after another. Nothing real. What you do here means nothing. Why do we waste our breath on you?
Dope. They weren't kidding when they said this was tough. Played it bait and fight. It's my other cure blight disease. Getting dangerously low on Alright, so clearly we were here before. Well, now we know the problem. take the opportunity to get a couple of restore health potions down. I feel like I've seen this adventure before.
The chairs, the tables, all confused. We hear the words, we speak them, we take them and arrange them, but still they will not be quiet.
Sometimes I just want a decent chat. So part of this is just making sure that I'm covering all the locations. I think I have a little bit of an idea about how I'm going to make sure I've investigated everything in here, but for now we'll just follow the paths wherever they go. Just want to double check that there's nothing in here. Otherwise, I'm gonna go back to the path that I was trying before. I don't seem to remember it being that bad. I feel like I'm missing something really obvious in here. So we're currently in Morrowind Spine. That's tainted marrow. This is a dead end. Don't believe we've been to Black and Tart yet. Resting here would be a terrible idea. Try to use a little more of my health. It's hard to tell which ones want to talk and which ones Bone Lord didn't actually want to fight. Sorry, just 1 second. Sorry about that, I'm recording these at inconvenient times, and it's just on the border. I sort of thought that, I was done with work at this time. But I am getting emails, and I just want to deal with them as the time comes, so. The good news is it does mean that I'm still able to meet this week's requirements. That was a pretty good run at. So now might be a good time to Now seems like a good time to rest.
You have ascended to level 28. The results of hard work and dedication always look like luck to saps, but you know you've earned every ounce of your success.
So it's a little disappointing in terms of the, the levels that we got, but,
The Sixth House greets you, Lord Nerevar, or Caius as you call yourself. I am known as Dagoth Garrus, priest of Elunibi's shrine, and minister to the Sixth House servants. My lord, Dagoth has informed me of your coming. I wish that this time you would come to honor your lord's friendship and not betray it.
Tell me about the Sixth House.
The Sixth House was not dead, but only sleeping. Now it wakes from its long dreams, and with its lord Dagoth it comes forth to free Morrowind of foreign rulers and divine pretenders. When the land is swept clean of the false friends and greedy thieves, the children of Veloth will build anew a garden of plenty in this blighted wasteland.
What about the shrine?
The Lunibi Shrine is just a small, quiet retreat for Sixth House servants, a place to contemplate and grow strong and wise in Lord Dagoth's ways. Here we share the sacraments of flesh and blood and dream the dreams of our Lord. This and other lesser shrines are hidden from prying eyes throughout the land. But the greatest shrines of the Sixth House servants lie beneath Red Mountain in the citadels of our Lord and his close kin.
Tell me more about the servants.
Forgive the rude welcome, but until you have declared for us, we must treat you as our enemy. The sleepers and dreamers newly come to Lord Dagoth and not yet blessed with his power. But the children of his flesh, they are deep in the heart of his mysteries. Their bodies swell to contain his glory and to yield the rich sacraments of our Lord's feasts. And we are the least of his servants, for ash poets, ascended, sleepers, and ash vampires stand high above us in the Lord's bountiful gaze.
What about Dagoth?
Dagoth is the awakened lord of the Sixth House. He's come to cast down the false gods, drive foreigners from the land, and restore the ancient glory of Morrowind. He bids you come to Red Mountain. For friendship and honor that you once shared, he would grant you counsel and power, if only you would pledge that friendship anew. The path to Red Mountain is long and filled with danger, but if you are worthy, you will find there wisdom, a firm friend, and all the power you need to set the world aright.
Tell me more about this friendship.
Dagoth gives me these words to say to you, so that you may give them thought. Once we were friends and brothers, Lord Nerevar, in peace and in war. Yet beneath Red Mountain you struck me down as I guarded the treasure you bound me by oath to defend. But remembering our old friendship, I would forgive you and raise you high in my service. My Lord Dagoth bids you come to Red Mountain. For the friendship and honor that you once shared, he would grant you counsel and power, if only you would pledge your friendship anew. I am not your Lord Dagoth, yet I too would say to you, do you come with weapons to strike me down, or would you put away your weapon and join me in friendship?
Looks like I don't have much of a choice.
With his dying breath, Dagoth Gary smiles and curses you. Even as my master wills, you shall come to him in his flesh and of his flesh. Lord Nerevar, Indoril, High Resdania, my lord, friend, and companion. Once we were friends and brothers, Lord Nerevar, in peace and in war. No houseman ever served you better or more faithfully. Much that I did was at your command, at great cost to myself and my honor. Yet beneath Red Mountain you struck me down as I guarded the treasure you bound me by oath to defend. It was a cruel blow, a bitter betrayal to be felled by your hand. But remembering our old friendship, I would forgive you and raise you high in my service. The sixth house was not dead, but only sleeping. Now we wake from our long dream, coming forth to free Morrowind of foreign rulers and divine pretenders. When the land is swept clean of false friends and greedy thieves, the children of Veloth will build anew a garden of plenty in this blighted wasteland. Come to Red Mountain, old friend, for the fellowship and honor that once we shared. I would grant you counsel and power, if only you would pledge that friendship anew. The path to Red Mountain is long and filled with danger, but if you are worthy, you will find there wisdom, a firm friend, and all the power that you need to set the world aright. As ever, your respectful servant and loyal friend, Lord Vorin Dagother.
Looks like I've got the wrong disease. Still have the Acropolis. All of these. Still over, probably because of the Acropolis. All right. Just want to make sure I've got all my details here, but at this point I think I need to cure myself of a horrible disease.
Dagoth Gary says the sixth house was only sleeping. Now Dagother and the sixth house will free Morrowind of foreign rulers and divine pretenders. When the land is swept clean of the false friends and greedy thieves, the children of Veloth will build anew a garden of plenty in the blighted wasteland. So the sixth house means to drive out the empire, overthrow the temple, and restore the pre-imperial Dunmer nation of Morrowind. Dagoth Gary says Ilubini Shrine is only a small quiet retreat where sixth house servants share the sacraments of flesh and blood and dream the dreams of their lord. He says other lesser shrines are hidden throughout the land, but the greatest shrines of the sixth house servants lie beneath Red Mountain, in the citadels of our lord and his close kin. Dagoth Gary's describes the sleepers and dreamers as new and weak worshippers, but the children of his flesh, I think he means the corpus beasts, are deep in the heart of his mysteries. He also says that he and the servants of Ilanibi we are the least of Dagothur's servants, and that the servants called Ash Poets, Ascended Sleepers, and Ash Vampires are more powerful and more blessed by Lord Dagoth. The priest of Ilibini Shrine tells me that Dagoth bids me come to Red Mountain, where he would grant me counsel and power if only I would pledge that friendship anew. He says the path to Red Mountain is long and filled with danger, but there I will find wisdom, a firm friend, and all the power I need to set the world aright. So Dagoth hopes to attract me to his service with promises of friendship and power. Dagoth Gary's addressed me as if I were Lord Nerevar, giving Dagoth words. Dagoth says Nerevar and he were friends and brothers, but that Nerevar struck Dagoth down beneath Red Mountain while Dagoth protected a treasure Nerevar had sworn Dagoth to protect. Yet Dagoth offers to forgive me and raise me high in his service. So Dagoth thinks I'm Lord Nerevar. I wonder about their history together. I have killed Dagoth Gary's, as the spy master ordered, but with his dying breath, Dagoth Gary's pronounced a curse upon me, and I now have the Corpus disease. He said that I would come to Dagoth in his flesh and of his flesh. I don't feel any different, but the marks of the disease are plain on my face. I'll have to return and to report to the spy master on the 6th house base, and hope that he knows of some way to cure this disease.
I suppose in the worst case I could just, recall.
That's disgusting. I think you should leave before I lose my lunch.
I did it for you!
Are you here to discuss your orders, Caius, or is there something else that you want? Dagoth Gary's dead, the 6th house shrine is no longer a threat. You've more than earned a promotion to the rank of Traveler. I'm very worried that you have the Corpus disease, but I have some good news in that department. I canvassed my informants for possible treatments, just in case you contracted the disease during your mission. I learned from Fast Eddie that your best chance of getting cured is Diviath Fear, an ancient Telvanni wizard who runs a corpusrarium for victims of the disease. Here, take this Dwemer artifact and 1,000 drakes, and go to Tel Fear. Deviath Fear will like the Dwemer artifact. A gift may sweeten his disposition. The gold is for expenses. And here's a couple of levitation potions. I hear you'll need them in Telvanni Towers, because wizards don't use stairs. So get moving and get that Corpus disease cured. Then hurry back. I think I may know how to get the lost prophecies Nibani Mesa asked for.
Tell me about a corpusarium.
The temple sends victims of Corpus disease to the Corpusarium. The Corpusarium is beneath Tel Fear, the tower of the Telvanni wizard Diviath Fear. I asked Fast Eddie what it was like. It's a swell place, full of doomed crazy people with bloated bodies. You'll love it.
Tell me more about Fast Eddie.
Ed Theman, also Fast Eddie, also Eddie the Rat, is a rare commodity, a former Telvanni wizard who has gone Imperial and joined the Mages Guild. A colorful but unreliable character, but he is an invaluable source of inside information on the Great House Telvanni, and he has a small house here in Balmora.
Maybe we should pay him a visit. What about Tel Fear?
Tel Fear, Diviath Fear's tower, is southwest of Saedrith Mora, on an island in the southwestern edge of Zarafel Bay. Here, let me mark it on your map. There's a dock, but no boat service, so you'll have to water walk or swim from Saedrith Mora. Use the guild guide service at Balmora Mages Guild to reach Saedrith Mora. At Saedrith Mora, find Wolverine Hall, Fighters Guild, and ask the scout Sondrin Irathi for detailed directions to Tel Fear.
I was gonna say I don't see why I'm encumbered now, but then I remembered that I have I just got extra things. So some of these I should be able to sell right away. Yeah, that sure was nice of Caius to just drop the heavy item on me. Drop off a few papers too. We shouldn't be carrying these orders around anyway. And while I'm at it, let's get a little armory done. Alright, let's see if we can find this fast Eddie. Well, they did say he had a... I'm sure he's here, I just can't find him myself. I would love to know your story, sir.
Is there something you need?
All right, now before I head out, I'll take the opportunity to sell a few items. I suspect with the disease, this is going to get harder and harder over time. So.
You got corpus disease, Outlander. That's a death sentence. It can't get cured. Get very far away from. Get away from me. Very far away. Yes, guys, can I help you?
Let's hear it.
Probably should have seen if there's more stuff I could have sold.
You're a lot more refined than most tourist sites.
All right.
I don't know where to begin. It is such an honor to meet you.
Sadrith Mora, if memory serves, is way on out. Yep.
How are you? Should you need something, I will be happy to oblige.
Warm day to you, friend.
Hey, get away from me. You've got corpus disease. You can't get cured of corpus. Go away.
Should you need something, I will be happy to oblige.
All right. So here we need Telfair, southwest of Sadrith Mora. It's quite a way away.
Hail!
Before I do that, maybe I should just try and sell some of my surplus. Might be a job here for me.
You're a lot more refined than most tourists I've met. I like that.
If you need a good laugh or a tall tale, you've come to the right place.
You here for orders or advancement, Warder? Or is there something else you wanted?
Advancement.
Your talents are noteworthy, but some question the depth of your devotion. Perform more duties for the Fighters Guild and you'll earn your place.
What are the orders?
Lorena Macrina wants us to provide some assistance with her expedition to the Dwemer ruins in Neckerdams.
Where's that?
Go to Neckerdams, a Dwemer ruin far south of Sadrith Mora, and talk to Lorena Macrina. Help her clear out the necromancers there and report back to me. I'll mark the position on your map.
Fair enough.
What do you want of me, Outlander?
Excellent. Now I have something of an idea of where I am. It said there was a dock, but well, here. I've no shortage of water walking potions, so wait. I sold them all, didn't I? Oh, here's some. So while I'm at it, I want to take a quick look at what this area looks like. Alright, so it looks like there's a proper village associated with this. But I will focus on the task at hand. It's wearing off. Crap. I do kind of want to see what's going on inside there, but I'd rather get rid of the disease. Well, that looks like the tower. This looks really interesting.
Have you come to plunder the dungeon, or have you got Corpus disease? Or did you come to see Diviath Fear? I'm Vetfear, wife of Diviath Fear. One of them, sort of.
Tell me more about that.
Yes, well, not wife in the married sense, but, you know, paramour, consort, something like that. It's a bit awkward, really, because, well, he made us so, though we aren't really his daughters or anything, it's like we're his daughters, because he made us, you see?
Who is this guy?
He's up above in his study. I hope you can fly. You can't get there unless you fly, or have potions. Sorry.
What is this about the dungeon?
You'd be surprised how many people come in here trying to steal Lord Fear's treasures. He does have quite a collection of relics and artifacts, but he keeps them down in the Corpusarium. Anyone who wants to risk catching Corpus disease. Not to mention, who wants to get ripped in half. Pity, we don't see too many good thieves here. Just stupid ones.
Tell me about the disease.
Everyone who gets Corpus disease comes to our Corpusarium. It's not very pleasant, but at least they're all fed and cared for.
What is this about?
My name is Deletfear. Do you want to see Diviath Fear? Have you got Corpus disease? Or are you another hero looking to plunder the dungeon? Really? Is that what you had in mind? Don't let me discourage you, but you do know that you're almost certain to get Corpus disease if you enter the Corpusarium. And I hope you understand how frightfully dangerous our inmates can be. And we do have guards, you know. Quite good ones. But feel free to try. I don't advise it, though.
Alright, and if I want to see the Lord?
Lord Fear is in his study. I'm sure he won't mind being disturbed. We get few visitors here. You can levitate, can't you? The study's on the upper level, accessible only by the central flywell. I'm afraid we aren't set up to accommodate barbarians or peasants, understand? Go up the ramps to the Halls of Fear, then walk around looking up until you see the shaft above you. Then levitate the shaft and look for Lord Fear in his study.
I'm listening. Go ahead.
Obviously, I have no intention of robbing the guy who is going to heal me.
What is it, Sarah?
I suppose you want to speak to Diviath Fear. Have you got Corpus disease, or were you planning on plundering the dungeon?
Well, you know, the dungeon's upstairs, right?
You're smart. Get Corpus disease, get killed by Corpus monsters, get killed by Vista Kai. Very good plan. Plunder the dungeon of a 4,000-year-old wizard. What could be easier?
Fine, what about the disease?
If you've got the disease, go down to the dungeon with all the other monsters.
Hey!
He's in his study. He's busy. He's always busy.
Ooh, look at me. I can levitate too.
Say, that's an interesting Dwemer piece you have there. What can you tell me about it?
It's a gift.
A gift? For me? How thoughtful and shrewd. I suppose you know I am a collector, and that such a gift is bound to please me. I congratulate you on your diplomatic skills. So why have you tried to butter me up? Come to consult the great Diviath Fear? You have the divine disease? You want to plunder the dungeon, or leer at my daughters?
Let's talk about the disease first.
The magical principles of corpus disease are elusive and miraculous, far more subtle and powerful than any conventional sorcery or enchantment. I am persuaded that it is some manner of curse or blessing of a god, perhaps both a curse and a blessing. The victim, of course, cannot appreciate the marvelous nature of the corpus. It saps the mind and destroys the body, but to a wizard it is a profound and glorious mystery, a riddle worth a lifetime of study. How interesting. Did you know that corpus makes you immune to disease? Have you ever heard of the prophecies of the Nerevarine? Ashlanders say that the Nerevarine will be immune to disease. I always thought maybe I have the Nerevarine down in my corpusarium, and I didn't even know it. The Nerevarine is a fat, disgusting corpus monster, and as mad as a marsh rat. Wouldn't that be funny?
Yeah, well, let's build up a reputation.
That's a fascinating story you tell. So you might be the Nerevarine. Means nothing, of course. Corpus victims have all sorts of delusions, but let me think. I've got a potion. In theory, it should cure corpus. Doesn't work, though. Probably will kill you. Killed all my test subjects, but you've got nothing to lose. Before I give it to you, I want you to look around below in the corpusarium. You know what's in store if you don't take the potion. And while you're there, I want you to pick up a pair of boots from a victim. Calls himself Yagram Bagran, my oldest patient. Handy fellow. Fixes things for me. Bring the boots back, and you can have the potion.
So, can I plunder anything else?
When you live for thousands of years, you need a hobby, something you love. Always sparks your interest. I collect treasures and invite thieves to steal them. I'm a collector and a sportsman. I collect enchanted items and ancient artifacts. I have quite a few Dwemer pieces, and as a sportsman, I love letting thieves try to steal my well-guarded treasures. Only a few rules. 1, don't hurt the inmates. 2, don't hurt my daughters. My warden and guards can look out for themselves.
Who's your warden?
Mishtakai, the Argonian, is my warden of the corpusarium. Quite a fighter, tough as nails, self-taught. Works out with my daughters, who are no slouches at the martial arts themselves. Mishtakai was one of the last of my slaves. Freed him, and he wouldn't leave. Kept on as a hireling, and then made him my partner. Excellent fellow, fine companion. Not an intellectual, you understand, but good company for me and my daughters.
So about those.
Not bad for something born in a jar, eh? Charming and talented. Not daughters, really. A little project. A side benefit of my researches into the corpus disease. Made them myself from my own flesh. Nice, aren't they? Alphifear, Betfil, Deltafear, and Upsifear. Quite a comfort to me in my old age. Alphifear is the sharpest of my girls. Wit and tongue. Gets on my nerves sometimes, but conflict is the spice of life. Byafair is the sweet one, eager to please and be pleased, an excellent cook and a lovely singing voice. Deletfair is the efficient one, organized and orderly. She acts as our steward, manages accounts, maintains supplies, keeps the tower and the corpusarium running. Upsifear is the girl with the biggest heart. She takes care of the inmates of the corpusarium and helps with my researches.
Outlander, what do you want? I'm listening. Go ahead.
All right. See how this goes.
I am Vista Kai, Warden of the Corpusarium, and I am here to warn you, do not harm the other inmates. If you come to plunder the dungeon, you must endure their attacks and take your chances with me, their Warden and Protector. For his own amusement, Diviath Fear permits thieves to test their ability by attempting to steal the treasures he keeps below in the Corpusarium. The dangers are fearful, the inmates are savage, and carry the most terrible disease on Tamriel. The treasures themselves are guarded by traps and terrors, and the guards, myself chief among them, will take great delight in trying to kill you. Those are the rules. Abide by them or leave. The guardian and peacekeeper of the Corpusarium. I've spent long years in service to Lord Fear. First as a slave and then as a free hireling. Now as a friend and partner. He has been kind and generous to me, and I take his interests, and the interests of those he shelters, to heart. The treasures of his dungeon are open to sport according to Lord Fear's whim. You're welcome to try and steal them, but I too find great sport in hunting thieves.
So, if I were to, well, first tell me about this, please.
Lord Fear shelters and maintains the victims of the Corpus disease here in the Corpusarium. He does them a great service because no other could or would help them. He also does the world a great service by keeping them here where they can do no harm to others. The inmates are sad, distorted monsters, angry and cruel, and their sufferings are great, but they still live and feel. I honored Lord Fear's care and compassion for them.
And, if I were to pick up a little something on my way out.
Do not harm the inmates. I will not tolerate you adding to their suffering. Indeed, they are brutal and ferocious, and they will kill you if they can. But you are their guest, and you may not harm them, or you will answer to me.
Fresh game.
I'm not here to steal anything, though. Oh boy. Maybe when I'm better at picking locks, I'll consider a trip back. Hey. Looks like I missed a spot. No, we're fine. Really wish I could rob this place. Ow. part of this is just a matter of finding out what's available.
You're new here, aren't you? My name is Oopsie Fear. I take care of the Corpus victims in the Corpusarium. The Corpusarium is one of Diviath Fear's many projects. Our mission here is partly humanitarian, partly research. He has been searching for a cure to the Corpus disease for a long time. A very long time.
Sorry.
But in the meantime, we care for the Corpus victims. As best as we can. The world outside is very cruel to Corpus sufferers, and they're better off here with us.
Tell me about your father.
As you know, he's probably the oldest and most powerful wizard alive, not counting liches or divine sorcerers like Vivek, of course. And there may be some older in the west or on Somerset Isles, perhaps. But I don't think there's a kinder, gentler, more generous wizard alive. Not that there's much competition in the kind and generous wizard department, I'll grant you.
Tell me about the victims.
This is not something I would tell the likes of you.
What about the disease?
The disease takes many forms. For some, the progress is rapid and terrible. For others, the effects on the mind and body are very slow. It's a remarkable affliction, in that once having contracted the corpus, one is completely unaffected by other diseases. We've always hoped that our research would permit us to isolate the beneficial aspects of the corpus, but alas, we've not been successful.
Who are you?
You must be here for the Dwemer boots. Tell my gracious keeper that I have done what I could. Only a Dwemer magecrafter could have done so much, but only idiots could have created these boots. It shames my race that we must be judged by the works of such lackwit blunderers. Lord Fear obtained these enchanted Dwemer boots from an unfortunate thief, and given the quality of their craftsmanship, little wonder that the fellow came to a bad end. But I can do nothing for them. The fundamental enchantment is flawed. Might as well start over again. Such a pair of boots could be fashioned in these benighted latter days, but I've done my best. Take them to Lord Fear with my sincere apologies.
What do you mean, your gracious keeper?
I owe my life to Lord Fear. He took me in when I was a mad monster, out of my mind. In time, I emerged from my dementia, and I am now quite lucid most of the time, though my body is still a grotesque and useless prison. I have become quite, and I still have some feeble hope of a cure. Lord Fear tried many spells and potions. None have helped me, but neither have they harmed me. If anyone can cure the disease, Lord Fear can.
Tell me about the disappearance of the dwarves.
I cannot say what happened. I was not there to observe. I was in the Outer Realm at the time, and when I came back, my people were gone. I left Red Mountain wandering Tamriel for years, searching out deserted colonies, looking for a survivor or an explanation. And a long, long time ago, I returned to Red Mountain, still looking for answers. Instead, I found the Corpus disease, and I have been here ever since. I have theories if you're interested.
Please do tell.
Lord Cagnarek, the foremost arcane philosopher and magecrafter of my era, devised tools to shape the mythopoeic forces, intending to transcend the limits of Dwemer mortality. However, in reviewing his formulae, some logicians argued that the side effects were unpredictable, and errors might have been catastrophic. I think Cagnarek may have succeeded in granting our race eternal life with unforeseen consequences, such as wholesale displacement to an outer realm. Or he may have erred and utterly destroyed our race. I was once a master crafter in the service of Lord Cagnarek, chief architect of the Second Empire freeholds and the greatest enchanter of his time. I could not match the genius of Lord Cagnarek, but what he could envision, I and my colleagues could build. All of that is gone forever. I still retain my cunning, but my hands and eyes fail me, and my memories have long faded. My only consolation is each day to mock the gods who destroyed my race and condemned me to this bleak existence. Since the disappearance of the dwarves, I have been alone in this world, trapped in this grim prison. I can scarcely move, and my fellow inmates are scarcely good company. The risk of corpus disease deters most visitors, but if you meet the cultivated minds undaunted by the terrors of the corpusarium, you might mention your recent interview with the last living dwarf. This is how I style myself. I do not know that for a fact that I am the last, but in my travels thousands of years ago, I never encountered another, and since I have been here, I often asked Lord Fear, but he has never heard a credible rumor of another Dwemer on Tamriel or in any outer realm.
This gives me a chance to explore the other way. Nope, that looks like it. That's it, so,
Fresh game.
hardly. Let's take a look at these boots. Not too exciting.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
Well, did you get my boots? No boots, no portion. The boots first, please. And now I'll give you the potion. On the following condition, you must drink it here before my eyes. It should act immediately, and I need to observe you very carefully. Agreed?
Why not?
Good. Open your mouth and close your eyes. Good. Now swallow. Goodness, good grief. Look, it's working. Remarkable. Let me check your skin, your eyes, your tongue. Amazing. I think it worked. No sign of the disease at all. Of course, you still have corpus disease, just like I planned, but all of your symptoms are gone. Marvelous. Now I'll go try it out on some of the more desperate inmates, but I'll answer any questions you have before you go. See? No more symptoms. Amazing. A bit surprised myself.
So what was in that potion?
It worked, didn't it? Remarkable. Perhaps it will work on the other inmates. I'll have to proceed carefully, of course. You may just be an exceptional case.
Oh, cool. No more diseases.
Probably nothing.
Down I go. I wonder what the daughters think of me now.
I gave Diviathir the drummer boots from Yagrum Bagran, and he gave me the potion. It didn't cure me, but it did remove all the apparent signs of the disease. Diviathir said they didn't actually want to cure me, he just wanted to remove the harmful features of the disease while preserving any of its virtues. It worked, and now Diviathir is eager to test the potion on subjects in the Corpusarium. But I must hurry back to report to the Spymaster and search for the lost prophecies.
Now, I suppose I could try and do a recall, but there might be some things I want to check out. Lady. It's a little too far away for me to worry about this mission right now.
Well met.
Caius, thank you for your report. I'm very happy you've been cured. Unfortunately, I've had a bit of bad news. I've been recalled to the Imperial City. You'll be promoted to operative and will head the blades here in Vardenfell until I return. I've only waited here to give you your final orders before I go.
Why are you coming back? Or going back?
Internal politics, some concern about my sugar. I thought about refusing the recall, but they have members of my family back in the capital. I'm afraid they may have something to do with the problems in the succession. I thought about refusing the recall, but they have members of my family back in the capital. I'm afraid it may have something to do with the problems of the succession. As the Emperor health's decline, factions are maneuvering for advantage. I may be gone for a while, and that's why you're promoted to operative. That makes you the ranking Blades agent here in Vardenfell district. As far as I know, there may be other Blades. There may be other Blades agents here I don't know about. It wouldn't surprise me. I may be gone a while, and you'll have expenses. Here's some gold, and you can use the house until I return. And I won't be needing these blacks or ring while I'm in Cyrodiil. Maybe they'll come in handy. Take good care of them.
What about being the head of the Blades?
There's nothing to it. Each agent has his own assignment and reports directly to Cyrodiil. You're promoted to operative mostly to preserve your independence. You're no fool. The days of the Empire are almost over. When the Emperor dies, 9 hell's going to break loose. Forget about the Imperial City. Think locally. Worry about the 6th House in Dagoth Ur and the squabbles between the great houses and the colonists. The rest of the political nonsense doesn't amount to a plate of scuttle.
What are my orders while you're on your way out?
Continue pursuing the Nerevarine prophecies as the Emperor commands. First, go to the Hall of Wisdom and Justice and get Mara Milo to help you find the lost prophecies. She's being watched. If something goes wrong, find her private quarters. She'll leave you a message there under the code word Amaya. Then take the lost prophecies to Nibani Masaya. From that point, you'll have to follow her directions and follow the prophecies. Good luck.
All right. Let's see what I just got. So, black pants, black shirt, luck and security. I mean, these are nice, but, oh yeah, I definitely want this over the flame bolt. As for the clothes, I'll put those aside. know if I want to do full alchemy, but I'll at least tidy up my materials a little bit, seeing as this is my house now. Alright, looks like I have the weight for it, so let's get some of it done. So, restore magic first. It's not that I really need any more, any more levitate, but it's nice to have out of the way. Now drain willpower. Fortify strength is kind of nice to have, but actually, hang on. Let's see if I can get away with fortify strength. Alright, well, I may as well make the most of what I've got. So I'm just trying to get items out of the inventory as quickly as possible to make it a little easier to build the rest. Now we had some corpus meat, so let's steal fatigue, health, and magicka. Alright. Now I want to see if I can get any invisibility out of that. No. Alright, now I'm just going to try and get rid of the largest stacks. Hang on a minute. Oh, restore strength, okay. So I seem to remember I have infinite amounts of heather for just about... Oh, Black Panther is the one that has the most now. Drain agility and endurance. Obviously, I don't need need to worry about curing blight anymore. Alright, Heather, train speed and personality. Perfect. Rat meat looks like it's up now. Well, stone flour, I suppose. But this lets me fortify personality. Oh yeah, I should have taken a look for that. So, fortify personality. Let's see if we've got any more of that. Gonna keep an eye out for crash fiber. So we'll take the rat meat. So drain magicka or poisons. This is good for restore magicka. How did I miss that? Alright, I might have lost the paralyze, but... yeah, do one last big run. Okay, Scuttle is now... Restore and fortify fatigue. Drain fatigue, drain personality. We'll start with those. Then we had fortify speed, fortify health. I don't think I have any of this. Drain magic of paralyze and the poisons. Drain health, luck, burden, and strength. Alright, I seem to be carrying a bunch of nonsense again, but I'm gonna guess that is at least some of that has to do with the potions I'm carrying. No, wait, no, it's not the potions, it's the alchemy gear. It's still not great, but what time is it? Get a quick rest in.
Caius Cassades was recalled to the Imperial City. He says that he believes I am really the Nerevarine. He wants me to find the lost prophecies and deliver them to Nibani Messiah. His parting orders are to go to the Hall of Wisdom and Justice, where Mara Milo will tell me how to get the lost prophecies. He says she's being watched, and if something has gone wrong, she will leave me a message under the code word Amaya.
Now, Vivek is going to be particularly welcome, because there's a number of tasks I need to get done there that are not related to the mission.
Is there something you need?
Greetings, may you find all
There are
that
many
you seek to
creatures
find.
beyond the cities.
Three blessings, sir.
Your turn to talk, ours to...
I'm very happy to make your acquaintance.
One thing I've forgotten to do on these potion runs was, actually I should do that for everyone.
Welcome, friend.
Yeah, that's not a lot of gold left. I'm assuming the same will be true here. Yeah, we work on that. We work on that. But I will at least be able to trade with someone who I didn't touch last time.
I'm very happy to make your acquaintance.
$900. I can't remember if common or... I guess common is more, it's like a higher value.
Welcome, friend.
How delightful. Welcome. Share your thoughts, friend. I enjoy the company.
Our sugar is yours, friend.
I'm Aislinn Marion, the Breton Guild Guide. I provide instantaneous transport between various Mages Guild halls in Vardenfell. What is your destination? I can also help with local information. Do you need services? Are you looking for some specific place, or for someone in particular?
Piper, please.
With pleasure. Please, go
Wait a minute.
It's truly a pleasure to see you.
Can you tell me about the Kira Vimidium?
Why, I've never heard of such a book.
Doubtful.
Welcome, Dunmer. Let's set aside our differences and talk, shall we?
Cyrilon Way.
How delightful. Welcome.
Good practice. Unless I run out.
Kiarmar Vamidium. Sorry. Kimar Vamidium. Kimar Vamidium. The Ancient Tales of the Dwemer, Part 6 by Marabar Soul. After many battles, it was clear who would win the war. The Chimer had great skills in magic and bladery, but against the armored battalions of the Dwemer, clad in the finest shielding wrought by Janago, there was little hope of their ever winning. In the interest of keeping some measure of peace in the land, Sothvin, the warlord, agreed to a truce with Carinthil Berith, the Beast. In exchange for the disputed lands, Sothvin gave Berith a mighty golem, which would protect the Chimer's territory from the excursions of the northern barbarians.
If you could just give me one quick second here. Sorry for all the interruptions this one.
Barif was delighted with his gift and brought it back to his camp, where all the warriors gaped in awe at it. Sparkling gold in hue, it resembled a Dwemer cavalier with a proud aspect. To test its strength, they placed the golem in the center of an arena and flung magical bolts of lightning at it. Its agility was such that few of the bolts struck it. It had the wherewithal to pivot on its hips to avoid the brunt of the attacks without losing its balance. Feet firmly planted on the ground, a vault of fireballs followed, which the golem ably dodged, bending its knees and its legs to spin around the blasts. The few times it was struck, it made certain to be hit in the chest and waist, the strongest parts of its body. The troops cheered the sight of such an agile and powerful creation. With it leading the defense, the barbarians of Skyrim would never again successfully raid their villages. They named it the Camarvamidium, the Hope of the Chimer. Barif had his golem brought to his chambers with all his house thanes. There they tested the Camarvamidium further, its strength, its speed, its resiliency. They could find no flaw with its design. Imagine when the naked barbarians first meet this on one of their raids, laughed one of the house thanes. It is only unfortunate that it resembles a Dwemer instead of one of our own, mused Caranthil Barif. It is revolting to think that they have a greater respect for our other enemies than us.
One moment, please.
I think we should have accepted the peace terms that we did, said one of the most aggressive of the house thanes. Is it too late to surprise the warlord Thovin with an attack? It is never too late to attack, said Barif. But what of his great armored warriors? I understand, said Barif's spymaster, that his soldiers always wake at dawn. If we can strike an hour before, we can catch them defenseless before they've had a chance to bathe, let alone don their armor. If we capture their armorer Janago, then we too would know the secrets of blacksmithery, said Barif. Let it be done. We attack tomorrow, an hour before dawn. So it was settled. The Chimer army marched at night and swarmed into the Dwemer camp. They were relying on Camarvamidium to lead the first wave, but it malfunctioned and began attacking Chimer's own troops. Added to that, the Dwemer were fully armored, well-rested, and eager for battle. The surprise was turned, and most of the high-ranking Chimer, including Caranthil Barif the Beast, were captured. Though they were too proud to ask, Thofin explained to them that they had been warned of their attack by a calling of one of his men. What man of yours is in our camp? Sneered Barif. Camarvamidium, standing erect by the side of the captured, removed its head. Within the metal body was Janago, the armorer. A Dwemer child of 8 can create a golem, he explained, but only a truly great warrior and armorer can pretend to be one. Publisher's note. This is one of the few tales in this collection which can actually be traced to the Dwemer. The wording of the story is quite different from older versions in Aldmeris, but the essence is the same. Camarvamidium may be the Dwemer Nichtmar Thurndams. This word occurs several times in the plains of Dwemer armor and animunculi, but its meaning is not known. It's almost certainly not Hope of the Chimer, however. The Dwemer were probably the first to use heavy armors. It is important to note how a man dressed in armor could fool many of the Chimer in this story. Also note how the Chimer warriors react. When the story was first told, the armor that covered the whole body must have still been uncommon and new, whereas even then, Dwemer creations like golems and centurions were well known. In a rare scholarly moment, Merobar Sol leaves a few pieces of the original story intact, such as parts of the original line in Aldmeris, a Dwemer of 8 can create a golem, but 8 of Dwemer can become 1. Another aspect of this legend that scholars like myself find interesting is the mention of the calling. In this legend, and in others, there is a suggestion that the Dwemer race as a whole had some sort of silent and magical communication. There are records of the Psychic Order which suggest that they too share this secret. Whatever the case, there are no documented spells of calling. Cyrodiil historian Borglius Mailer first proposed that this as a solution to the disappearance of the Dwemer. He theorized that in First Era 668, the Dwemer enclaves were called together by one of their powerful philosopher-sorcerers, Cagnarak in some documents, to embark on a great journey, one of such sublime profundity that they abandoned all their cities and lands to join the quest to foreign climes as an entire culture.
Now, I am a little curious.
Truly is a pleasure to see you.
You as well.
How did you... where did you... Oh.
Huh. It's really interesting that you can return it.
An honor, to be sure.
I believe this was Alderaan, so let's deal with that really quick.
Welcome, friend. The day is yours. What shall we talk about?
What did you find at Hulin's hut? Was it worth all these intolerable interruptions? So Hulin's apprentice summoned a scamp. Is that all? I can't believe I was distracted from my studies for something so trivial. Speaking of which, I discovered these scrolls during my research. You may find them useful.
Interesting. I didn't actually get assigned this, but I guess I already completed it.
You meet our requirements, Caius, but you have not yet completed the duties expected of a wizard.
Well, let's talk about the book.
Can you believe this isn't about a Dwemer construct at all? This book was completely useless. In any case, I need you to return the book before Cyril Onway suspects anything. Return the book to wherever you found it.
Any other duties?
Yes, guys, I finished my study of the...
Oh, fair enough. I will teleport back just to get another assignment.
Oh, greetings. How do you do?
How do you do? Now I have more than one copy. All right, fair enough.
Breathing Water by Haliel Mir. He walked through the dry, crowded streets of Balfell, glad to be among so many strangers. In the wharfs of Vivek, he had no such anonymity. They knew him to be a smuggler, but here he could be anyone. A lower-class peddler, perhaps, a student even. Some people even pushed against him as he walked past, as if to say, "We would not dream of being so rude as to acknowledge that you don't belong here." Serene Reles was not in any of the taverns, but he knew that she was somewhere, perhaps behind a tenement window or poking around in a dunghill for an exotic ingredient for some spell or another. He knew little of the ways of sorceresses, but they always seemed to be doing something eccentric. Because of this prejudice, he nearly passed by the old Dunmer woman having a drink from a well. It was too prosaic, but he knew from the look of her that she was Serene Relas, the great sorceress. "I have gold for you," he said to her back, "if you will teach me the secret of breathing water." She turned around, a wide, wet grin stretched across her weathered features. "I ain't breathing it, boy. I'm just having a drink." "Don't mock me," he said stiffly. "Either you're Serene Relis and you will teach me the spell of breathing water, or you aren't. Those are the only possibilities." If you're going to learn to breathe water, you're going to have to learn there are more possibilities than that, boy. The School of Alteration is about possibilities, changing patterns, making things be what they could be. Maybe I ain't Serene Relis, but I can teach you how to breathe water. She wiped her mouth dry. Or maybe I am Serene Relis and I won't. Or maybe even I can teach you to breathe water, but you can't learn. I'll learn, he said, simply. Why don't you just buy yourself a spell of water breathing or a potion over at the Mages Guild, she asked. That's how it's generally done. They're not powerful enough, he said. I need to be underwater for a long time. I'm willing to pay whatever you ask, but I don't want any questions. I was told that you could teach me. What's your name, boy? That's a question, he replied. His name was Therian Winloth, but in Vivek they called him Tolman. His job, such as it was collecting a percentage of the loot from the smugglers when they came into the harbor to bring to his boss in the Kimona Tong. Of the value of that percentage, he earned another percentage. In the end, it was very small indeed. He had scarcely any gold of his own, and what he had he gave to Sirin Relas. The lessons began that very day. The sorceress brought her pupil, who she simply called Boy, out to a low sandbank along the sea. I will teach you a powerful spell for breathing water, she said, but you must become a master of it. As with all spells and all skills, the more you practice, the better you get. Even that ain't enough. To achieve true mastery, you must understand what it is you're doing. It ain't simply enough to perform a perfect thrust of a blade. You must also know why you are what you are doing and why. That's common sense, said Therian. Yes, it is, said Serene, closing her eyes, but the spells of alteration are all about uncommon sense. The infinite possibilities breaking the sky, swallowing space, dancing with time, setting ice on fire, believing that the unreal may become real. You must learn the rules of the cosmos and then break them. That sounds very difficult, replied Therian, trying to keep a straight face. Serene pointed to the small silver fish darting along the water's edge. They don't find it so. They breathe water just fine. But that's not magic. What I'm saying to you, boy, is that it is. For several weeks, Sirin drilled her student, and the more he understood about what he was doing, the more he practiced, the longer that he could breathe underwater. When he found that he could cast the spell for as long as he needed, he thanked the sorceress and bade her farewell. There's one last lesson I have to teach you, she said. You must learn that desire is not enough. The world will end your spell no matter how good you are, and no matter how much you want it. That's a lesson I'm happy not to learn, he said, and left at once for the short journey back to Vivek. The dwarfs were much the same, with all the same smells and the same sounds, and the same characters. His boss had found a new Tolman, he learned from his mates. They were still looking out for the smuggler ship, Morrowind, but they had given up hope for ever seeing it. Therian knew that they would not. He had seen it sink from a wharf a long time ago. On a moonless night, he cast his spell and dove into the thrashing purple waves. He kept his mind on the world of possibilities, that books could sing, that green was blue, that water was air, and that every stroke and kick brought him closer to a sunken ship filled with treasure. He felt magic surge all around him as he pushed his way deeper down. Ahead, he saw a ghostly shadow of a Mordrung, its mast bill... Let me try that again. He saw a ghostly shadow of the Morrodrung, its vast billowing in the wind of deep water currents. He also felt his spell begin to fade. He could break reality long enough to breathe water all the way back up to the surface, but not enough to reach the ship. The next night he dove again, and this time the spell was stronger. He could see the vessel in detail, clouded over with dust and dusted in sediment. The wound in its hull where it had struck the reef, a glint of gold beckoning from within, but he still had felt reality closing in, and he had to surface. The third night he made it into the steerage, past the bloated corpses of the sailors, nibbled and picked apart by fish, their glassy eyes bulging, their mouths stretched open. Had they only known the spell, he thought briefly, but his mind was more occupied by the gold scattered along the floor, the boxes that contained them shattered. He considered scooping as much as he could carry into his pockets, but the sturdy iron box seemed to bespeak more treasures. On the wall was a row of keys. He took each down and tried it on the locked box, but none opened it. One key, however, was missing. Thalen looked around the room. Where could it be? His eyes went to the corpse of one of the sailors, floating in a dance of death not far from the box, his hands tightly clutching something. It was a key. When the ship had begun to sink, the sailor evidently had gone for the iron box. Whatever was in it had to be very valuable. Thalion took the sailor's key and opened the box. It was filled with broken glass. He rummaged around until he felt something solid and pulled out 2 flasks of some kind of wine. He smiled as he considered the foolishness of this poor alcoholic. This was what was important to the sailor out of all of the treasure in the Morrodrung. Then suddenly, Thalen Winloth felt reality. He had not been paying attention to the grim, tireless advance of the world on his spell. It was fading away, his ability to breathe water. There was no time to surface. There was no time to do anything. as he sucked in, his lungs filled with cold, briny water. A few days later, the smugglers working on the wharf came upon the drowned body of the former tollman. Finding a body in the water in Vivek was not itself noteworthy, but the subject that they discussed over many bottles of film was how did it happen that he drowned with 2 potions of water breathing in his hands.
Share your thoughts, friend. I enjoy the company.
The book is returned. Good work, Warlock. Once I knew the locations of some Dwemer ruins, I will be asking you to travel some dangerous places. These amulets will help return you to safety. You meet our requirements, Caius, but you have not yet completed the duties expected of a wizard. I'm so glad you asked, Warlock. At this delicate phase of my research, I need to study a Dwemer tube. They're easy enough to find. I believe I saw some in Arkenthich Sturdrums when I was there last. Would you be willing to travel there and bring back the Dwemer tube?
Why not?
I appreciate your dedication, Caius. Arkenthich Sturdrums is northwest of Nisus, but there's an easier way to get there. Go to Aldvalathi and follow the coast to the west. Take a Siltstrider to Nisus and follow the roads north. I'll mark Aldvalathi on your map.
All right, well, I'm going to leave that for another time. It's a bit much.
Welcome. If you wish to talk, it is really no trouble at all.
All right. Now let's see if she's mad at me.
It's truly a pleasure to see you. Where did you get that copy of Caravamedidium? I've been looking for this book. Perhaps you'd be willing to part with it?
Why not?
Thank you. I won't forget this. Just a suggestion. Keep quiet about this book, Caius. Some members of the Mages Guild can be very jealous.
An honor, to be sure.
What was that? With pleasure. Please, go ahead.
All right. So let's figure out a few things that we're going to do.
What should we talk about?
So, I believe I might be able to do it. I should actually write these down, so. So, Anasi was one. We might want to take a quick look here and see if this person has anything else for us to do. I should stop by the Fighters Guild and see. I believe we finished that one, so. Should probably just double check what's going on there. Rolasa Oren, Market Kent. Not sure where Nemendia is. I definitely did that one. Alright, well, we've got a few things we can do. And we'll see if I can turn in the...
So where are you from?
Stay as long as you like. It would be a privilege to talk with you.
I have a feeling you and I are about to become very close.
Hi.
You get Tongue-Toad to shut his mouth yet? I want that done. Good work, Caius. Just as long as Tongue-Toad keeps his mouth shut. Here's your gold.
Okay, advance.
Talents are noteworthy, but some question the depth of your devotion. Perform more duties for the Fighters Guild, and you will earn your place. Got a bounty on a Khajiit. Name's Dro Shakar. Got a bounty on this Khajiit outlaw, Dro Shakar. He's hiding here in Vivek, in St. Ohms, I think.
A sincere welcome to you. May you be forever.
What do you know about Dro Shakar?
I don't know that one. Check over in St. Ohms. Lots of shady characters in that part of Vivek.
I have a feeling you and I are about to become very close.
Indeed, because you are in the way.
The pleasure is all mine.
Oh no. I didn't save recently.
All right. Well, that's a shame. What I'll do is I will catch up to where I was before. Now seems to be a good time to end it otherwise. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week.